Okay, we should be live now. Good morning, afternoon, evening. Welcome everybody to the CutSec ICS Friday Infosec chat. Today's February 11th, and we're just here to talk about stuff for 30 minutes. Talk about industrial controls, talk about Infosec, whatever we want to talk about. Thank you for joining us. If you're joining us on LinkedIn and YouTube, maybe even Twitter, it's live on Twitter as well. I'm not sure. I haven't looked at that platform to see what it actually looks like. But thank you everybody for joining us. We are monitoring the comments on the side. If we respond in the comments, it'll only go out to YouTube. It's just LinkedIn right now doesn't allow StreamYard to comment back. So we'll try to address any comments or questions that you may or may not have live for this LinkedIn viewer. One of the recommendations that I got was to kind of go over an agenda for something that we want to talk about. What we have. So I came up with this. Talk about some cutaway security activities, some of the things that we're doing. Always going to be monitoring for chats and questions. As people start joining. If you do join the stream, because it puts the stream out there, make sure you put your own image or turn on your video, because it's a little bit easier for me to share you on there. So other topics that we might talk about, mentoring and mentees. I got in the Cutaway Security Discord, got some questions about mentoring and mentees, and I do like to talk to people about that. So we'll talk a little bit about that. Then we've got a couple news items on there that we can talk about as well. Right now we're joined by Aaron Boyd and Tom Liston. Aaron, you joined us the other day. Why don't you give a brief introduction to yourself, just who you are, what you do, so that people know, and then follow that with Tom.
Sure. Thanks, Don. Hello, everyone. Name's Aaron Boyd. I'm a principal industrial penetration tester with Dragos. My background has mainly been in lead ICS UVD architect positions in oil and gas, manufacturing, and aerospace, and decided to hop over to Dragos to have a broader reach than being pigeonholed with a single company.
That's Tom. Does everybody know who you are?
Well, my name's Tom Liston. I've worked with Don for many, many years. And he and I are working together on a class that we're trying to develop. That's not a secret, is it, Don? I don't think it's a secret.
No, it's not a secret, but hopefully nobody's waiting for it.
Well, nobody's waiting for it. Yeah, that's true. So yes, yeah, I've done a lot of testing in the industrial space, and yeah, just here today to lend a hand.
Excellent, awesome. Yeah, so a couple things. Starting off with, I do like to talk about cutaway security. We are out there and active, and I do think that people are interested in talking about what is actually going on from an information security perspective, and what we're seeing out there in control environments. So some of the activities that we're doing this week, following up on the security assessments that we did last week. We have to do some reporting on that. Having actually a challenge in working with the utility to understand the Citrix environments that they provide to us for reporting. In other words, they don't allow any documentation out, and I have to actually log into their Citrix environments, log in with my credentials there, pull up their Microsoft Word, access the files in their OneDrive or however they're sharing it to me, and access the internet there. So that's actually one of the problems, is their Citrix environment is really slow. And one of the other requirements is providing references to the ICS attack matrix within the report, identifying specific CWDs and CVEs. And so going out to since I don't have an automated tool or some previous write-ups that have some of that information, I can't custom cut and paste into the Citrix environments. That's been a challenge for me. Aaron, Tom, have you guys ever experienced that?
Me personally, yeah, quite a bit, especially in those more sensitive environments where data can't come out. It's certainly not something we're used to. We like writing reports on our own machines, especially after you leave an engagement. Sometimes you just spend the night in the hotel. That's a great time to get reports written. But hotel Wi-Fi is never that good, so you tether to your phone, and it's just. But we got to work with the limitations we're given because
Right.
everyone's got specific requirements. So.
Yeah, and I usually do try to report in line, but there's, a lot of times when you're working in the control environments, you're walking through different places. You've got a lot of different data, and a lot of it are pictures that you took either on an approved device or on your cell phone, and getting that uploaded, working with different engineers and operators, and so it can be difficult reporting in line like a typical security assessment within a corporate environment.
Yeah, I've run into that several times, and every time it's a pain, mostly because, we all do the whole, we've written this up once before. And who wants to sit down and write it all up again when I have it in a report that I have on my system back home? I can just go in and cut and paste and edit up and fix it so that it's customized to this specific client. But it's really nice to be able to start off with that kind of template that you've already written up. And so, yeah, anytime where you have to use the client systems to do reporting, it's just tends to almost double the work, it feels like.
Yeah, this Citrix environment's because of some of the lag and delay, it's making it worse. So I'm trying to bring up an actual Windows system instead of doing stuff through a VM to maybe reduce some of that lag.
I'll just flat out say I've never been a real big fan of Citrix environments. They're always slow and laggy, it feels like.
Yeah. So it's just something we have to deal with in the industry. I really like to. I want to kind of move cutaway security towards like Extracts, the online reporting system that can get some of these references between the IDER attack matrix, especially for ICS, CWEs and CVEs. I do see value in that, but because people don't want some of their stuff up in the cloud, third-party service, especially utilities, don't want you connecting into that. It can be really difficult. Some of the other stuff that Cutaway's doing is we're scoping OSI Soft Pi assessment. They're owned by, I think it's Aviva now. Hopefully I got that right. I didn't double check. But that's I'm really excited. I'm actually going to start the architecture review and threat modeling next week for that. I've heard a lot about Pi, but this would be my first Pi experience. Fortunately, I'll be having help from another organization that have Pi experts, so experts in implementation. And that's kind of why I want to bring this up, is that I think it's important, certainly we have a lot of people that are coming into the information security field now, and they've got that information security training and background, but we're always emphasizing in ICS and the industrial controls, having that background in understanding the control environments, understanding the different protocols and devices and how actual processes work is important. It's just like having a background in administration within our corporate environments. So bringing on board and getting to sit down with a Pi administrator to review these applications is it's just going to personally, it's going to benefit me because I'm going to have that input. Do you guys have any experiences with doing security assessments with non-security personnel, more having a team member that's on the admin side?
Yep, all the time. Especially we know ICS security really is a niche. We're not going to find the expertise we need, so we're going to build them. So anytime anybody's interested, not only to learn more about ICS, but ICS pen testing specifically, my door is always open to ask questions, and I'm all about building the talent, because the last thing I want is somebody going in there not understanding the consequence of a certain command they run. They didn't have anybody to show them that, and it caused the consequence that shouldn't have happened. And like I said in a previous call, I converted from IT to ICS. So being able to be partnered with someone on the ICS side, understand operations, learn operators' pain points, it made a lot more sense what we were trying to secure and what we were trying to do.
Yeah, I think it's really important. Whether you're doing IT or ICS testing, you can't know everything. Nobody can know everything about an organization, about how they do their work, how they do their business, and how things affect them. And so it's incredibly important to have somebody, whether they have security knowledge or not, if they have organizational knowledge, and you can tap that organizational knowledge, then absolutely that makes your job easier, and that makes your reporting and your testing so much more beneficial for the organization.
Awesome. Yeah, it's and Tom, I mean, you didn't start in information security. You started as an administrator, right? So
Absolutely.
that's played into, I feel that's always, that's kind of been my drawback. Certainly I've got 20 years of experience in this field, but having that implementation experience and understanding that people have made, people are deploying things to do their jobs, right? And I think that's really important in the ICS environment. They're deploying things for the process and stuff like that. So it's extremely important to kind of understand. We say it all the time: requirements of why things are being deployed. So, I'm glad that I'm going to have some high administrators with me to do my assessments next week.
Well, yeah, I mean, you understand the security. You don't understand their business necessarily. I mean, you understand how security affects their business, but you don't understand everything that goes on and what their requirements are from day to day. It's important to have somebody that understands that. It's important to leverage that knowledge in your testing, so that, I mean, like, it all comes back to making the testing that we're doing and the work that we're doing more beneficial for the customer.
Yeah, and it was pretty. He tried to make it very evident. He was like, I want you to know that I don't have a lot of security experience, but I have a lot of experience with deploying this and interacting with databases and stuff like that. And I was like, hey, this is going to be great, because I will show you. You show me how they're deploying it correctly, and I'll show you how to break it. Right. So that's a lot of fun. I see a lot of people joining, a few people talking. Wes, I'm going to have to get you the Discord link a little bit later, and the stream link a little bit later. Daniel, good to see you. Wes, good to see you again as well. We're joined by LGH here on the stream. I'm not sure who that is, but I've added a him or her in. LGH, do you have a mic? Do you want to say anything? You are on mute, I think. All right, I think LGH is just kind of joining us for a little while, but if
always dangerous just to open it up to a three-letter acronym like that,
It is. I thought I'd be a little bit spicy and see what happens. So we'll see if they want to speak up. If not, they're just kind of listening in, and that's fine. All right, there we go, Luke. So just join in if you want to. So. Okay, and I am looking for questions, and I am monitoring the comments. So if you do have anything, let me know. Okay, so Luke's in public transport, so he's just kind of listening in. If you do have something to say, join in, jump in. Let's see here. So mentoring and mentees. One of the things I want to talk about this, because I did get kind of asked, about this. I monitor a lot of different channels, both in whether it's Twitter or LinkedIn, some of the other Discord channels. So I do have people reaching out and asking me questions about how I get started or how do I move into this industry. One of them was about incident response. You both know that I like the incident response, so I kind of jumped on that. I think it's important to understand the mentoring and mentee relationship, especially in Infosec. And one of the things, I guess, when one of the things I pointed out is that in this industry, everybody's busy, and so the people that do want to help and that do want to be mentors, help. We'll answer questions when we can. We'll give direction when we can. Maybe have like a 15, 20-minute talk on the phone or via Zoom or something like that. But actually taking on a mentee and actually doing that in according to a process where you're learning certain things from them, that's actually different. That's really time consuming. And so most organizations focus on their own employees around that. So don't be frustrated. So what my point there is if you want a mentee and you're looking for a mentor, don't be frustrated in this industry if people say, hey, I just don't have time. And, it's because they are doing the best that they can to do certain things and to help you. They'll be glad to answer questions when you have them. So if somebody's going to talk to you, try to be specific, have some specific questions for them, and to make the most out of your time with them. So, Aaron, Tom, any experience around that? Any recommendations for people that are looking to, seeking mentors in this industry?
Yeah, that's a great question. Like I kind of alluded to, my door is always open, and I'm glad you touched on we don't always have the time, unfortunately, and sometimes we do have to prioritize internally within our own organizations. But I have yet to come across anybody in the ICS space that's not willing to at least point you in the right direction if you have a question. If anybody does give you a cold shoulder in this space, they'll get outed pretty quick because we know what our mission is in this community, and we need all the help we can get. There's just not enough of us, and I think that's something we all can agree to.
I'll second that. I think, if anybody comes to you with a question, just understand if you come to somebody with a question, they may not have the answer, but the best thing that they can do is point you in the direction of somebody who might. And so, nobody in security knows everything, especially in ICS security. And so it's important. We all have our people we turn to. We all have our people we ask questions of ourselves. And so, it's just one of those things that eventually, somewhere along the line, they'll keep pointing you. Somebody will keep pointing you to somebody else. Who'll keep pointing you to somebody else, and you'll get an answer. But I would never, just purposefully ignore somebody if they came to me with a question. But I also do have no problem. I also have no problem saying to somebody, I have no idea what the answer is, but here, let me point you to somebody who might.
Right. Yeah. And I was laughing because, Tom, I'm constantly bugging you on stuff, and it's the whole thing is, and I do it too. We have this expectation. Hey, if I text somebody or if I hit them on Discord, we expect that instant answer because we're interested in that right now. But if somebody doesn't text you back, if somebody doesn't respond, it doesn't mean that they're not going to. It just means that they're not in the same space that you are at that moment.
Yeah, we all go into head down mode every now and again, where we're just staring at our own screens, working on something, and that's kind of why I really like texting and things like Signal and stuff like that, because in the past it used to be a phone call, and if you don't answer the phone, you're not going to be able to answer that person at all, and so you kind of feel guilty about that. But with something like a text or a Discord or a Signal question, you can just kind of ping back, and sometimes I'm not even very good about pinging back right away and saying I'll get back to you in a few minutes. But just kind of with Don, I think he's gotten used to the fact that it may take me an hour or two to respond, but I'll respond eventually.
Yeah, everybody's got their own life stuff, and it's kind of why I started the Cutaway Security Discord. It was more because we're overwhelmed with Slack channels and Discord channels and Twitter and LinkedIn and stuff like that. But at the same time, we have Beer ISAC, on Slack, and so I know a few people have joined that. But then I didn't really see like a Discord that was dedicated to industrial controls. And in the industrial sector. So that's why Cutaway Security started that. So, and what's great about those is that, it's instant mentor, meaning that if you have a question, you post it in there, and just like all the other Discords, somebody will jump on it, or somebody will say, "Hey, this sector. This person is familiar with that sector. Let's ping them directly on it." So it's I think it's been a good start. It's a small community right now, but it's rapidly growing. John Lever has a question on LinkedIn. And the question is, what is your recommendation to react to the latest CVEs in a factory setting? And he goes on, he's got a little bit longer of a question, and it's more, I think it's kind of related to the vulnerabilities being released being released for a product or for a solution, and the control environments not being able to address that. And John, from my take, one of the things that we teach in the SANS ICS 410 class, the Department of Homeland Security, probably like 10 years ago, put out some guidance on patch management within control environments, which is basically, and just to quickly summarize, instead of patching, instead of just saying, "Hey, we've got to patch this," what you have to do is you have to sit down with the people that understand the process, that understand the process requirements, which includes, most importantly, safety, and have a workflow to look at the different vulnerabilities. And the first thing that you do is you don't ask about patching. First thing you ask is there a workaround? Is this, okay, yes, you've identified that we have a product within this environment that somebody has identified a vulnerability. How are we using it? Is it deployed a certain way? Is it actually exploitable? Good thing is, good example is Log4j. Log4j is in a lot of products, but if it's not set up a certain way, you can't exploit it. So, it's not that you're ignoring that vulnerability. What you need to ask the question is, yes, is it attackable within this environment? If it is there a workaround? Can we just remove that feature? Start there, because even though that's a change to the environment, if it's not being used, that workaround, it is the best way to handle it, because you don't have to patch it. Then, if that's not possible, you'll go to a situation where you're going to evaluate. If you have to patch, you're going to evaluate the operational risk versus the or the operational needs, versus the risk. And that is a conversation that has to happen between the people that understand the process and the risk and vulnerability people, because they, if they haven't been talking about how to address these solutions and how to approach these problems, then it's going to be really difficult. And that causes people to approach that from the standpoint of, hey, you have to patch everything. It doesn't work in control environments, but we can do it smartly. So, Aaron and Tom, do you have anything to add for John?
Yeah, I'd also add, we can patch all the things we want. We can put all the network segmentation we want. We can put all the perimeter controls we want. But if you don't have that monitoring or visibility to see what's happening in your environment, you're going to have a really tough time reacting when and if something does happen. So understanding, we know we can't patch everything, but at least having some type of monitoring or detection capability in place will help you see and identify, hey, that shouldn't be happening. Hey, we never saw this before. Maybe we should look at this. So you get ahead of the problem before something happens instead of reacting after the fact.
Right, and that's one of the things I tell to my students. I'm constantly doing the three things up into the when it's live online. And so protection is important, but if we can't protect, then we have to detect. And if we're going to be detecting, we have to be able to respond. You got to be ready for all of those. And if you're detecting but you're not responding, what's the use of doing all of this? So yeah, your organization needs to be prepared for each one of them.
And I think to address another point in John's question, which I don't know that we read out loud, but I think more and more we're seeing people get away from this concept that, oh, our ICS environment is isolated. We don't have to worry about it because our ICS environment is isolated. I'm seeing less of that than we used to see in the past. But I think that idea is still out there a little bit, and I think you kind of have to constantly disabuse people of that idea, and just constantly go back to saying, no, you maybe think it's isolated, but it's in reality it's not.
Yeah, Russell brings up, not seeing a lot of environments that have labs, ICS security labs. Actually, I wouldn't necessarily. Well, I think security labs are useful and important. I prefer to see a lab implemented by the actual control personnel. I mean, we can build things all day long, but those are the people. First of all, those are the people that know how they're deployed. They know how they're deployed in our environment. Working at the utilities, one of the things that they're really pushing utilities to is to have the site acceptance testing, the factory acceptance testing, and the site acceptance testing done on site, done within the control labs for that utility. And I think that's important because they're going to be deployed by there's vulnerabilities in products, and then there's vulnerabilities in implementation. Okay, and when we're trying to identify whether our organizations are causing those vulnerabilities, or it's our relationship with the vendors and the requirements we're giving to the vendors, and they're not good enough, and so they're being implemented insecurely. I think that's important. And to come back around to the vulnerability standpoint and patching, it does require those types of environments to test those, to understand the impact on our complete system before we start doing some rollouts. So we should have those test environments. Virtualization really helps, but certainly a soft PLC is different than a hard PLC. Yeah, so we're coming up on our 30 minutes. I really appreciate everybody that joined the chat and asked some questions. Hopefully, we were able to answer it. Hopefully, some of our things that we talked about, mentoring, and some of the activities that we're doing right now. We've got about 3 minutes left. Aaron, is you want to say anything about what we've talked about today?
I just appreciate you setting these up and offering another cornerstone in the community for people to get involved and learn about this space. So,
well, I definitely appreciate your input and coming in and helping us here. So, Tom, are there any last minute thoughts you want to leave for people about whether it's vulnerability management, mentoring, or just day-to-day Infosec work?
I think just going back to that whole concept of mentoring, there's this feeling I think that a lot of people have that, we should be able to do this stuff on our own. I should be able to be the be all and end all of everything. I shouldn't have to go and ask questions. I shouldn't have to, what? I've been doing this stuff, first the earth cooled, then there were dinosaurs, and then I started working in security. And I still ask questions of people. I still look things up. I mean, you cannot. Security is one of those fields. Security and I believe medicine are probably the two fields where you absolutely cannot know everything, and you have to be a lifelong learner in order to just keep up. And so, if you ever are doing work in security and feeling like you shouldn't have to be going and asking other people questions, I think you're missing the boat. We are here, we're not competing against each other. We're competing against the bad guys. And so if you have a question, find somebody and ask it. And don't feel bad about asking questions, and don't, find those people out there who are willing to answer your questions. And if there's somebody out there who is willing to answer your questions, I'll go back to what Aaron said. They're not going to be in this field very long, I don't think, because we're here as a team. We may be a bunch of different companies. We may be doing work for a bunch of different organizations and all of that, but we're all in the same team. And so ask questions. Feel free to ask questions and get yourself answers, and don't feel bad about, I'm not the security hotshot because I don't have all of the answers. None of us do. And if anybody claims they do, they're lying. So, okay.
I think it's important to to flip that perspective as well, because we've got people that are asking questions, but we also have that mentor aspect of it. So people are going to ask you questions. If you're in this field and you have the signature, email signature, that says you're an information professional, or it's got your designation there. Somebody's going to see that and they're going to ask you a question. Don't say, I haven't been in this for very long or anything like that. Think about your answer. Respond. If you don't know, it's okay to say you don't know. But what I usually do is I say I don't know, and then I send them to Tom or I send them to Aaron. Or I like, hang on, let me go ask somebody and come back to you. So
and
field those questions.
There's so many weird pieces of hardware, weird pieces of software, one-off installations of this, one-off installations of that out there, that you can't know everything. So it is absolutely okay when somebody comes and says, do you know about WYSIWYG software number, version 19 or something like that? You could just say, I've never heard of that before. I can go look, and maybe we can work and figure it out together. That's always a good answer too.
Right.
I have no problem saying I have no idea, but let's go look at it together.
And I think that's a good point, Tom. We shouldn't be isolating ourselves within that within the information security field. You need to find people that are control engineers, operators, and stuff. If you're going to be working in this field, make those relationships. We've got several people in the CutSec Discord that they just kind of slid over into information security, but they're from the industrial side, and
that's happening more and more and more. So that's a good thing.
So yeah, it's a great thing. Find those people that are specifically have that knowledge from the OT environment, whether they're working in information security or they're actually deploying stuff. So we're a little bit over time. I'm okay with that. Aaron and Tom and everybody in the LinkedIn, YouTube, Twitter, thank you for joining the CutSec ICS Friday Infosec chat. I really appreciate it. Have a great weekend and a good start to your next week, and we will see all of you next time. Thank you very much, everybody.
You all as well. Stay safe.
Bye-bye.